Right, on and down with this dark twisting path we continue. Back with Deception 3 Chapter 12 of something like 24 total chapters, of which only 14 I've actually recorded. And here the resident leader of this little group of thugs and vagabonds appears to be the only one with something resembling a fucking brain. See, he realises that everyone else sent to capture Bianca has died horribly, because Bianca is a crazy little psycho with magic powers. Everyone else sees a small defenseless girl who is going to have her stuff taken. Serrato, well, he sees the final scene to Carrie. He's been around the block a few times. And watched a few Stephen King flicks, and read a few Stephen King books for good measure. He thinks, which unfortunately makes him dangerous, and he's gonna have to go. Because I cannot have my enemies predicting my next move. Even if my next move is something as simple as hit them with a bear trap. You know, it's not good for the grandeur of the whole thing if I can be outwitted by a fucking minion. Anyway, we're gonna set shit up, and we're gonna murder a few minions, and we're gonna feel good about ourselves, because violence is the only thing that brings meaning to such an empty life without friends, relatives, or lovers. And Bianca is all, lacking in all of those things. Standard, I'm going to murder people set up for this room. I'm gonna bear trap them, and for lack of a better word, gonna shove them through a guillotine. Because I'm all French Revolution like that. Power to the people, fuck the nobles. Let's get ourselves a good old-fashioned terror started. Anyway, it's almost like one of my ancestors was Robespierre to begin with. Which is entirely possible. My family is from France originally, and I like to believe we played a part in those times. Granted, it was most likely the shit hide under the counter the secret police are here part, but a man can dream of violence and death and other unpleasant things happening to other people. Anyway, resetting our traps now, because when I recorded this I apparently couldn't decide on shit. As I've said before, if you're ever going to record an LP, do your audio and video at the same time, or make some notes or something. Don't do what I'm doing, which is come back about a week and a half later with no idea of what you did. Excuse me. And expect to actually be able to think shit through. Okay, the glass and a half of Bundy probably isn't helping, but anyway. Okay, it wasn't a glass and a half, it was more like a glass and a third. Cut me some slack here, it was a large glass. Okay, for those of you who aren't Australian, Bundy is Bundaberg rum, which is not so cheap, moderately nasty, and for reasons I will never understand an Australian icon. Possibly because it has a polar bear mascot, who drinks booze, and we're all about the weird shit down here and down under. Because, frankly, if we weren't, we wouldn't be able to stand the local wildlife for very long. It's a bloody odd country. Every year, half of it burns down. Every year, people die of the heat. In their air-conditioned rooms. We know it's fucked up, and if it bothered us, we wouldn't care. Because caring in Australia is something, men are not supposed to do. But anyway, we've unfortunately not been able to use the topple prop to finish off Claiborne there. So we've only got a 3-hit trap instead of a 4-hit trap. And for a man with a loaded crossbow pointing it at a small woman, that is some real conscience right there. Anyway, he's dead. Good riddance. You know the deal. Anyway, what was I saying? Something about how much Australia sucks. And if you live in Queensland, it really sucks. In fact, if you live anywhere that isn't New South Wales or Victoria, it sucks. for every one of my viewers watching who is not Australian, and I'm pretty certain that's all of you, mentally, resuppose that I was an American and I said, the United States sucks if you're not from New York or Nevada. That's pretty much what I just said. Of course, I'm from South Australia, which is probably best compared to the long-forgotten parts of Alabama. Yeah, I'll let that sink in for a second. It's called the City of Churches. No, seriously. We have that many churches. And I don't know why I'm talking about them when I could be describing how I'm going to murder people, but, fuck it. You want churches? We got churches. You want cathedrals? We got fucking cathedrals. You want Lutherans, Catholics, Presbyterians, Methodists? Yeah, we got them. Too many of them. Anyway, we're going to send this guy flying with a spring floor, because the blast floor would have launched him too far. And we're going to drop him into the combo. Unfortunately, we don't get credit for that first hit because we waited a little bit too long to Thor hammer him. Anyway, he's not dead either, which is rather galling. Or galling, perhaps. I don't know how to pronounce it. But we're going to try and see if we can't kind of shove this guy off the edge and drop a rock on his head. Because metaphorically, that's what happens to a lot of people in this game. Literally, it only happens to a few people. But I'm flexible like that. So anyway, the problem with this trap setup is that I've got to somehow get him past the fucking guillotine. So... and I'm going to have to move the flare rock because he's going to get launched a fair way. And why oh why did I decide to make an 18-minute video that's basically nothing but me talking about random shit? And I'm not a comedian. My friend's little brother's a comedian, but I'm not. And I'm just divulging way too much personal information about this shit. Not that it matters, because everyone who knows me already knows I'm a foul-mouthed little bastard. I'd say live and let live, but that's not really part of my plan in anything. So we're going to spring floor him down. And we're going to thunder hammer him back into it. And then we're going to thunder wall him back into the center. And in a second he's going to stand up, and that giant swinging pendulum of doom is going to really ruin his day. In the meantime, however, I've got to set up a trap combo because there's about to be another guy looking to aerate my lungs. Or should I say Bianca's lungs. Because I would not really want the world to think I'm identifying with a 15-year-old girl. Or however old Bianca is. It's never said, and I'm assuming somewhere in the teens, early 20s. But there goes the giant pendulum. And yes, Galahad, you are going to die. The good news is, there's a heaven. The bad news is, there's a hell and you're headed there. Anyway, we're going to run like hell from Rebecca and Althea. However it's pronounced. This game has no voice acting outside of the CGI cutscenes. So it doesn't matter. Althea's a white mage who is, by the looks of things, about to engage me by herself. Which is, something the coroner would probably rule suicide. The lawyers might consider it homicide, but we all know it's suicide. So we're going to set up the blast floor. We're going to set up the thunder wall because where there's water and there's lightning, there's fun. Thousands of people who dropped a toaster in the bathtub cannot be wrong. And the Thor hammer. And basically one big-ass combo. We're going to bear trap her. Ironic, because, she's not a bear. In fact, she's about as far from a bear as you can get while remaining human. And that joke, such as it is only going to make sense to a handful of sexual deviants. But we're going to go with the blast floor when she walks through that door. And please shoot me for that unintentional rhyming. There's the blast floor. Right out of midair, there's the thunder wall. Off the edge she goes. She lands. And there's the flare rock. Unfortunately, the bitch is hanging on by the barest of threads. So we're just going to electrify the water for the shits and giggles. and Althea the White Mage is dead. Unfortunate, but I'm fairly certain we knew exactly what we were doing. Unfortunately, now Rebecca is right on top of us, so we're going to beat what is called a hasty retreat, or in military terms, a tactical repositioning, which is code for, oh god, they're handing us our asses, let's get out of here. But it does mean she's going to chase us by herself. And we have slide stairs, we have torches, we have pitfalls, we have thrones, we got motherfucking everything in this room. And we're going to take advantage of it. At least I think we are. The me from like 2 weeks ago takes a kind of sick pride in thinking these things out. Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly what I took sick pride in, so I'm going to have to kind of think. And it's 10 o'clock at night here, and it's been a long day. It's been an incredibly long week, and I don't really feel like thinking. So you can sort of see where this is headed. Nowhere fast. Anyway. We're going to use these flame things as weapons, basically. Only because I have not yet figured out how I'm going to drop someone in it while it's still on. As soon as I figure out how to use it as an actual burninator, then things change. As it stands, we're using it as a blunt instrument. Excuse me, I think I've got the first bits of the cold coming on. Pity. You know, it's going to ruin my such manly voice. And I can't fucking believe I just did that. My apologies for anyone who had to listen to that. That was just horrible. Anyway, we're setting up our traps. We're going with the Bear Trap, Thunderwalk, Thor Hammer combo. It's about as complicated as, you know, I get. It's the old standard. It kills people. It's hard to go past that. Unfortunately, Rebecca is relatively smart and tried to go around the hard way. But the Thunder Hammer is going to launch her into the wall, which is going to launch her into the area between her and the flaming bit, which will crush her. Unfortunately for Rebecca, I do think we will get away with this, because we, using the royal we to speak for me and Bianca, the voiceless protagonist, are, quite frankly, the protagonists, and therefore we can get away with whatever the fuck we feel like. You know, game developers are nice like that. And we're here in this little room which has three things going for it. It's got a topple prop, it's got another topple prop, and it's got a magic square. Kinda hard to compete with that. So we're just going to go for the basics here in this one. We're going to bear trap someone. We're going to drop a pair of columns on their head. We're going to run like fuck. Because, you know, there's still two people to deal with, and this trap set is only going to take care of one before it's completely exhausted and we're kind of screwed. And here's Xeon coming through, which is kind of fortunate, I think, because I'd have needed a more complicated one to deal with him otherwise. Yeah. The pair of room traps finishes him, and yes, Xeon, it is too late to escape. You are dead now. Rest in pieces, you little throwaway minion fuck. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to not to apologise for any profanity I've just said, but to preemptively apologise for any more profanity I'm going to say, and to express my complete and utter bewilderment that anyone offended by profanity is still listening to me speak. Because, you know, frankly, I can't go a video without swearing at least 20 times. And no, that wasn't an invitation for one of you smartasses to go back and count. Anyway, we're going for a nice big trap combo here. What we're going to try and do, I believe, is we're going to trap them. We're going to drop a rock on their head. We're going to drop them in the pitfall. And we're going to laugh about the whole thing. Sounds good. Anyway, this takes a lot of tricky timing to get right. At least if it's the one I'm thinking of. Because we're looking at about 5 different independent parts, and we've got to get them all timed exactly right so that the combo continues. Anyway, So we're going to wait for Serato, the poor bastard, to actually show up in here. Because he's got to run from the other end of the castle just to meet his doom. You know, that's a terrible way to meet death. All sweaty and disgusting and bloody and generally soldier-like. It's rather undignified. Still, at least he'll meet death with eyes wide open. I don't know if that's a bonus, it's just a sort of still. And here is Serato, who has a very good question to ask. Why does everyone else have to suffer? I'll tell you why, Serato. You get to suffer because I'm the protagonist. Sorry, Bianca is the protagonist, and you're not. There goes the flare rock, there goes our nice little reduction, and we're going to run him over with a flare rock. And quite quickly we're going to run up, and we're going to sit on the throne and drop him in the pit. Silly Serato. Dying's the last thing you'll do. And Serato now having second thoughts about not mutinying against the king. Unfortunately, it's a bit late for that. Because he's dying of being a little bitch. Here we're introduced to Sir Edgar, who I'm already taking an immense dislike to because, frankly, anyone with the name Edgar who is not in a Final Fantasy game has it coming. I'm also taking a like to Serato because he's a cynical, smart-ass little shit, and thus I feel a certain kinship with him. Even if he does actually say gasp. Although he's dying on the ground and he has the presence of mind to say what in the name of. So, frankly, I kind of like the guy even if he is dying. I'm guessing Bianca likes him as well because, you know, she likes that kind of spunky resistance to authority. Unfortunately, like everyone else, she just killed him. And Albert and Bianca talking now, because, you know, shit, this game needs to spin things out with extra time. And I had something witty to say there, I just lost it completely. Let this be a lesson to everyone else out there who wants to do this sort of thing. Think before you record. Don't do what I do, which is click record, swig from a bottle of booze and start talking. It might be entertaining to me, it's not very high quality. So we're going to collect the legendary stone, amongst everything else we could collect. And that's the mission done, because, seriously, 5 victims just wasn't enough victims. But we got through it with no damage. We got the cursed emblem. That changes the traps to add, like, status effects to everything. It's not that useful. But we'll be back next time with other useful, violent traps.